Ms. Isaacs, you were given basically no training to work your ride at Rocket World, isn't that right?
Right, I mean, it's not rocket science, but I mean, I guess the training wasn't that great.
You were trained to start the ride, correct?
I was, yeah.
And stop the ride.
Yep, those are the two things you usually have to do at an amusement park.
But you weren't trained how to operate the ride in blackout mode, isn't that right?
No, sir, because you're not supposed to use it.
And in your ride training, you were never given any lessons on how to operate your ride, isn't that right?
I'm sorry, what?
You weren't given any lessons on how to operate your ride at Rocket World, isn't that right?
Like, not hands-on training, I mean, I was told how to do it.
Now, you also weren't required to watch any instructional safety videos on ride
No,
operation.
thank God, those things would get boring.
And you weren't required to shadow a senior employee in order to better understand ride operation.
You're right, I wasn't.
Now, Ms. Isaacs, you mentioned a text message that you saw Cameron Poole sending, isn't that right?
Yep, to Bowman.
Now, while you saw that, you were peering around a corner, isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the back of the tunnel of terror.
Now, Mr. Poole's back to you was at this time, isn't that right?
Yep, I could see the light from his phone because it was dark.
Exactly, but he was standing with his back to you, holding his phone.
Yeah, that's true.
And you only saw what you claim you saw for a moment, isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really need any more than a moment to determine that Bowman was in the field of, like, sending to Bowman.
To be clear, you saw what you claim you saw for just a moment.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, now, Ms. Isaacs, I'd like to move on to the morning of August 30th. Now, you were called into J.C. Longstreet, the park's owner's office,
Yeah, like right when I got to work.
and he and Haley Floyd had some questions for you, isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
They asked you whether or not you thought Cameron Poole was trustworthy.
Yeah, and the only thing that I could tell them is that, I hung out with Whit all the time. I don't really know Cameron that well, honestly.
You know, mentioning Whit, they never asked you if they thought Whit was trustworthy, did they?
No, they focus more on, like, wristbands and stuff like that. I don't know, it was a pretty weird conversation, honestly.
Let's talk about those wristbands.
Okay.
They showed you a number of them and asked you which ones you would allow on your ride, correct?
Yeah, they did.
You thought that was a little strange, didn't you?
Well, I mean, getting called into the boss's office to talk about wristbands, it didn't really look any different to me than wristbands that we've been using the whole summer.
Exactly. Every wristband they showed you looked the same to you.
Yeah, I guess to me, yeah.
Now, you mentioned you left early on August 30th, correct?
Whit convinced me to go home. He came up to me and asked me a bunch of times.
So you left early.
Yeah, after Whit told me that he was going to take over my ride, that's true.
And on your way out, you wanted to stop by Mr. Longstreet's office, correct?
Well, yeah, I was going to thank him for letting me go home early, because that's what Whit told me. I guess Whit lied about it, though.
To be clear, you wanted to go see Mr. Longstreet before you left.
Yeah, I did.
All right. And when you got to his office, you overheard him talking with Haley Floyd, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
They were speaking sternly.
I guess you could say that.
Now, you heard Mr. Longstreet ask Haley Floyd if there would be any problems if the police saw Rocket World's financial records.
Yeah, it was something along those lines.
We heard that is what you heard. You heard
Yeah,
J.C. Longstreet
I
ask.
think that's what I remember.
And then you heard Haley Floyd respond telling Mr. Longstreet that he...
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
What's the quote?
Your Honor, no statement has been elicited yet. I was about to say what Haley Floyd said, but...
Why don't we have the prosecution? Can you explain your objection?
Yes, the conversation including Mr. Longstreet and Haley Floyd is hearsay. It's statements made out of court. Says you being used as the truth of the matter, sir.
Okay, I do believe I was about to hear something where you were going to quote somebody. What was your question going to be?
It was going to be that Haley Floyd told Mr. Longstreet not to worry.
I mean, since there's, I'm going to overrule it. I think you're technically right, but it's sort of a not very substantive statement, and it's becoming more contextual, so I'm going to allow it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Isaacs, Haley Floyd responded to J.C. Longstreet saying that he didn't need to worry. Isn't that right?
That's what I heard, yep.
And Mr. Longstreet responded, "You better be right."
Yep, if I remember correctly, that's what he said.
Now, the next morning, on August 31st, you were fired from Rocket World. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I was.
Now, you were fired because you left early. Isn't that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Now, as you were leaving Rocket World, J.C. Longstreet told you one thing, didn't he?
Yeah, he said a lot of things that day when he was firing me, but yeah, he said something.
The one thing he told you as you left was, mind your own business next time. Isn't that right?
Yeah, he said something like that.
Mr. Longstreet told you to mind your own business.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, now, you also mentioned that you work at Chuggy's Bar, correct?
Yeah, that's where I work now. I like it a lot better than my amusement park job.
Now, I'd like to talk about a specific instance in which you saw J.C. Longstreet and Haley Floyd at the bar.
Okay.
Now, they came into Chuggy's and sat in the back, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's their usual spot. That's where they usually go when they come in.
And they had a black bag with them?
I don't know. They might have.
Ms. Isaacs, they had a bag with them, isn't that right?
I think so.
Now, they took that bag and put it under the table,
From what I remember, it was a while ago, but yeah, that sounds right.
and then they sat down.
Yep.
Now, while they were sitting there, Cameron Poole came into the bar.
No, I don't know if it was Cameron Poole, honestly.
A person came in that you believe was Cameron Poole.
I mean, it could have been. I don't know for sure, though.
Ms. Isaacs, this person walked past the bar,
Yeah, like, I mean, not right in front of me. I was kind of serving drinks at the time.
and so that person, Cameron, walked to Longstreet and Floyd's table, isn't that right?
I don't know if it was Cameron.
Ms. Isaacs, the person that looked like Cameron Poole walked over to Mr. Longstreet and Ms. Floyd's table and sat down. Isn't
Yes,
that right?
sir. The person who looked like Cameron Poole.
But he didn't stay for very long, did he?
Nope.
He took the bag from under the table,
Yep.
walked past the bar,
Yes, sir.
and then he left.
Yes, he did.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.